Okay, so just trying to get through that little video clip was a pretty big handful. I couldn't stop not commenting, and I'm okay with that. And the people want to listen to me talk most of the time, anyways. That's the appeal for a lot. So, let us look at the testimonial. We'll look at the testimonials again. We'll review the evidence. Testimony of, okay, so these must be testimony of the professor's students from the looks of it. So let's re-look at these. These should be short.
不过我还是希望你们警方能够保密。
Right off the bat, he says, I hope you can keep a secret.
毕竟现在对我来说是关键时期。一旦爆出桃色事件的话，我多年的努
He's like, he
力
doesn't want this
可
to
就
go
完了。
public, whatever.
情
Now
况
listen
是
to
这样
me.
的，我和莎莎是在一家酒楼认识的，
Yeah, this is just why he was in this situation.
所以我便把这事儿
Oops. Okay, so that video itself is probably not going to matter unless it turns out that like they didn't come from the same hometown or something, perhaps. That video, not important. Next.
一步错步步错。
Okay, so this is when he was talking about being blackmailed. I think this is going to be a big thing to the whole case.
12月3号，我收到了一条敲诈短信，还有一些不堪入目的图片。发信人正是莎莎。
And now it was sent from Sasha, but it wasn't from Sasha. It was from her phone, but her phone had been in possession by the landlord. So the landlord's the one that's blackmailing this guy through her old phone. How is his old phone still able to, or how is her old phone still able to send SMS if she already replaced the phone? Like it should have transferred the account over to the new phone. The old one should have been dead, right? We'll put that aside. Maybe things are different in China. I don't know. Manly Wee's heading out. All right, man. Have a good one. I'm gonna stick through it until I see the end of this video, or until the end of this game. Like I'm just gonna finish this shit today. We got this, one way or another. It was a big pleasure having you here, man. Today in particular. Well, every day in particular, but today in particular.
不瞒您说，最近我正为此事而苦恼。我一个大学教授，虽然工资不低，但一次性让我拿出500万元来，也是不可能的事儿。
So that might be useful. The amount of money that's he's being ransomed for at, or I don't know, whatever the terminology might be, the amount he's being asked for, even under his vocation, was too much. Like he can't afford to pay the ransom. We got that. And it does coincide with the message logs, the SMS that we got from the 3rd of December as well, the day before the murder.
什么？莎莎遇害了？你们来的目的就是为了这个？
Yeah, so he was here. This is the suspicious part. He heard she was dead, and yet he assumed after that she was murdered. Now, there's lots of tricks that police might do. Like if, for example, they came up to you and said, "We're investigating a murder. Can we talk to you?" Blah blah blah, and then they mention late into the discussion that that girl is dead. Your brain might connect things one way or another, and then you will have made an assumption. So it's not unreasonable to get tricked into a situation like that where you would say, you know, I didn't murder her and here's my alibi. And then the police will be like, we never said she was murdered. Again, this is why you're not supposed to talk to the police. Like that is a thing. That's not a, you know, like fuck the police or a plead the fifth thing or Miranda's rights thing or none of that. Like this is you can fuck yourself over. Like, and if you're guilty, fine. But if you're innocent, you can still get yourself fucked over. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
12月4号那天晚上，我一直
He
在
claims to
想
be at home on the night of
我
murder.
知道口说无凭。我爱人在12月4号晚上10点20分发过一条朋友圈，当时我正在给他洗脚
He。was washing his feet. So
这是我唯一
he was
能拿
washing
得
his
出
feet
来
at
的
home.
当天晚上在家的证据了。如果说你们怀疑我是凶手的话，我怎么可能在35分钟之内
How the hell would I get home in 35 minutes with this traffic? It's China. We got like so many fucking people here. It's like, how the hell do you think I'm gonna get home in 35 minutes? So, yeah, the washing feet part, he claims he was home. I think, unless I misread that again. Now, this is going to be new, but before I do that, I know Manly Wake had to go to bed, but I wanted to see this newspaper because when we put the clue in that included this, like we've looked at this. Now I'm seeing, like, one, there's no second page, third page, etc. It's just this, and all we saw, there's no notes or anything like that. But I do see that, yeah, that guy is in the like little thumbnails of some of these news articles. This is it. There's no notes, no nothing. I mean, we can like zoom in and stuff, but yeah. So this is probably what they would have used as, like, this was the clue. Like, I guess if I was lucky enough to have been clicking on everything and been lucky enough to spot that this guy looks just like the one that was in the sexy pictures, yeah, I would have, I would have not made the connection. Like, there's no realistic way, short of brute forcing every possible combination of things, and as these number of things increases, it becomes less realistic. So now we've got new information here. We've got the testimonies of these two students. So let's just watch. Pause per sentence if I need it.
我们教授是一个很好的人，我们都知道他特别疼爱他老婆。也许在他心目中，除了工作和事业，可能就是他老婆最重要了吧。
Paid testimonial.
我们教授是一个时间观念很强的人，平时对时间苛刻到了一种近乎变态的程度。我们平时上课迟到1秒钟都会完蛋。教授跟我们说过，在做实验上每1秒钟都特别重要，所以我们心中一定不能没有时间的观念。
Those are your testimonials when you went and interviewed the neighbors? So yeah, at least we know he's a professor for sure. I mean, it says professor. But yeah. Something interesting got said here, though.
我们教授是一个时间观念
Like this in particular, like not the first one. The first one was just like, okay, apparently he's a good guy, according to at least one other person. So this one happens to mention he has a strong sense of time. Now, he did include in his alibi the whole 35 minutes. How, like, if I was the murderer, how would I have made it home in 35 minutes? Is that a character trait of the way his brain works? Or is it just a part of his scheme? Like, if that makes any sense. But not just that.
平时对时间苛刻到了一种
Abnormal, strict rule for time.
近乎变态的程度。我们平时上课迟到1秒
We
钟都
could die due to late for class. We could die due to late for class. He's saying this to the police that are like asking him questions. If a police officer came up to you and said, you know, can you tell us about your professor? And you respond, we could die due to late for class. This guy doesn't have good opinion of this professor, does he?
会完蛋。教授跟我们说过，在做实验上
Every
每
second matters while doing experiment.
1秒钟都特别重要， 所以我们心中一定不能没有时间。
So we cannot have no sense of time. By definition, humans experience sense of time. It's how we perceive the fourth dimension is a temporal thing. Sorry. This little interview was just... So, it's trying to establish, I think, that, yeah, he's probably a nice guy, and he's probably very obsessed with timetables, so to speak. Either schedules or deadlines or something along those lines. That's what I'm getting out of that. So that serves its purpose. Cool. What else have we got? Let us check the reports. We've got a new thing on here. Oh, wow, that guy lives butt-fuck far away. So this is where the murder took place. This is where the landlord lives. This is where the professor lives. So the one question that definitely will lay on the table for now is, can he get from here to here in 35 minutes? And I think the answer to that question is going to rely on, do we actually know the time of death, like the actual time? Because I don't know if 9:40 or whatever we had established to that point is actually the time of death, since we're seeing evidence that suggests things may be not quite what they seem. And we've got a picture of Professor's Facebook. He's like a Chinese Pee-wee Herman. Like if you took someone from China, and you kind of said, hey, let's take Mr. Bean, let's take Pee-wee Herman, and let's take Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and just kind of merge them all together. Oh, there's a timestamp on the TV at 22:20. So at 10:20, that's why the Facebook was used as an alibi. Okay. So, okay. I take everything back I was making fun of with the Facebook thing. This makes sense now. I really need to fucking learn to shut the fuck up and wait until I see all the evidence before I speak. But this is why. His wife made the Facebook thing, which included a photo that no one told me about, to be, in my defense. But it does include a timestamp from the background news. So, okay, we can definitely confirm this is an alibi. He was here squatting like an idiot doing, goofy professor things in his home at 22:20. And that guy's got a lot of power outlets. That's kind of cool. I just hope those aren't made in China, because those power strips and things, very dangerous. If you don't know what the hell you're buying, you can actually make things bad. You need good quality surge protectors. Anyways, okay. So what do we got to go off of? I don't even know. Where do we begin? What do we do? We've got, let me think, because that's basic, that's the new evidence is this, the testimonials and the update distance from the house on the map, but that doesn't really help us at the moment anyways. Even if it can help us, I won't even know to think to be able to use it, because, this system is a little weird. So, what connections are there to make? So now we know the guy that's in the photos that are being used to blackmail him. We got that. He's being suspicious as far as her murder, but like we don't really have anything else to go by other than he assumed it was a murder. It's like we don't know anything more as far as that goes, do we? Because like, there's one thing that's sitting in the back of my head, like a little screaming gremlin, and it might just be because I'm seeing these power outlets here. Like, is it possible there's any relation to this and the phone chargers or something along those lines? But that wouldn't make any sense. The messages, I mean, we looked at these a butt fuck ton of times. Like, what else is there to know there? And we've got this revolves around this whole thing, and I feel like that might become more of an issue later. Like, I figured that was going to be like an early thing. So now I'm hitting a dead end. Like, what is there for me to try? And if I go back to our previous roots, the testimonies, the first one was basically a lot of nothing. I forgot what number 3 was.
什么？莎莎遇害了。
He learns she's dead.
你们来的目的就是为了……当时我正
He's
在给
talking
他
about
洗脚，
washing his feet.
我怎么
Okay,
可
so he
能在
talks
30
about that. Nothing we can do about that right now.
一步错
Here he talks about...
虽然工资不低，但一次性让我拿出500万
Okay,
元
so this is
来。
where he talks about being blackmailed. But I don't know what I can really connect that to. It's like, because he's being blackmailed by the landlord in our case, and it's kind of like a so what situation. Like, so fucking what? What do I... Here. Alright, we need... Alright, well, I'm trying to find my cheat sheet here, see if I could find something. And it's like, it's hard not to spoil myself, so I'm like really extra careful. Cell phone, female cell phone, rather. First, second victim. First woman's mobile and the first victim's mobile. Wait, is there a correlation between that? Let me see some. So in this case, the female cell phone, the first woman's cell phone, this is the one from that phone. This talks about the blackmail. What does this one deal with? Oh, this is where she talks about losing her cell phone. And that's apparently a clue?
12月2日，被害者的一部手机丢了。12月3日，这个手机还发出了一条威胁短信，而且这个手机是在房东的家里找到的。那事实不就明摆着的喽？
没错，这个信息就是房东偷了莎莎的手机发出去的。他想敲诈别人，又想借别人的手来收拾被害者，一箭双雕啊！小李，马上问问他怎么回事。
没有什么要解释的吗？
We like pink.
那个手机呢，确实是莎莎的，他一直在背后说我坏话，所以说呢，我2号的时候偷偷摸转到他屋头去，想拿走他手机，
Wait. He just...
顺便看到他短信里面是莎莎的，他 他一直在背后说我坏话。
Yeah, because she keeps talking about him.
所以说呢，我二
So he snuck into her house. Well, it makes sense. Like on December 2nd, this is 2 days before her murder.
二是偷偷摸钻到他屋头去，想拿走他手机报复他，顺便看他短信里面有没有说我坏话。至于那条消息嘛，是我发给我个朋友开玩
It's
笑的。
a joke that I sent to my friend. That's bullshit. Because we know Mr. Eyebrows got like he confirmed that he did get ransomed. So this guy's lying to us again.
那个照片呢，也是我朋友自己照的。我觉得呢，你们没得必要去忙，因为我那个朋友这两天在国外，我都找不到他人。
受不了这个家伙挤牙膏似的交代了，完全是在浪费我的时间，我还有通告呢。
I get the impression that the landlord has compulsive lying. There's a term for it. I don't know what it's called, but he's a compulsive liar, basically. Like he's fed us so many lies, and it's like when you tell him, like when you call him on it, it's like, oh yeah, I remembered it wrong. It actually went like this, not like that. I mean.
那个手机呢，确实是傻傻的，他一直在背后说我坏话。所以说呢，我二号是偷偷摸钻到他屋头去，想拿走他手机报复他，顺便看他短信里面有没有说我坏话。至于那条消息嘛，是我发给我个朋友开玩笑的。那个照片呢，也是我朋友自己照的。我觉得呢，你们没得必要去忙，因为我那个朋友这两天在国外，我都找不到他人。
So I did look at my cheat sheet there. This is testimony number 15. There's 16 and 18 over there. So we're missing 17 and we just opened up 15. So things are happening out of sequence for our play. So this is the testimony where he said, no, I sent it to my friend. It was a joke, but I did steal the phone on that day, etc. But that 100% conflicts with the professor's second testimony where he talks about being blackmailed. See?
教授认为发敲诈信息的是莎莎，但房东说他是发给朋友开玩笑的。明显房东在撒谎啊！教授没有理由要骗我们。而且这么德高望重的人，连出轨的事儿都认，这种事儿有什么好隐瞒的？
不错，有做我助手的潜质，到我手底下来怎么样？
你休想！
说说敲诈教授的事儿吧。
哎，确实，那个人呢就是你们说的教授，我也认不到他。我偷手机的时候呢，那个图片就有了，我就拿来顺便发了一下。
And okay, like what do I even say to that? Because that's how he reacts to being called out on lies. Doesn't give us anything particularly useful. Let me see.
哎，确实，那个人呢就是你们
So
说的
he
教
knows the
授，
guy's the professor,
我也认不到
but he
他。
couldn't recognize him.
我偷手机的时候呢，那个图片就有了，我就拿来顺便发了一
So
下
he。saw the photo. He's like, "Hey, I gotta send it to this guy." That's the first reaction. So now I'm stuck again because that's the only new bit of information. All we did was say, "Hey, you're a liar. Here's why." So let's see. Oh, okay. So landlords 17 and 18. So in other words, the one we just rewatched And this one. What was this one?
是的，那天呢，我确确实实是去换卡的。那个雪娃娃呢，也是我送的。我注册了一个色情网站的会员，平时就喜欢在上面传点。
As in, he didn't recognize him in 17, but he does recognize him because he's been fucking filming them and using it for his little money-making porn upload scheme. Because this is the thing here.
表哥的方寸已经打乱了，我上去给他压最后一根稻草吧。
去吧，少年，秉承我的意志，摧毁他最后的抵抗吧。
你们两个是在演莎士比亚剧吗？快点询问。
你的两段供述完全是矛盾的，如果再不如实招供的话，后果自负。
我承认，我当年确实是去换卡和电池的，也是我之前偷了莎莎手机敲诈教授。
What? Wait, I didn't catch the last bit. Stop.
偷了莎莎手机。
He stole Sasha's cell phone and blacked the professor. You blacked the professor. What? Oh, blackmailed, maybe. Yeah. I'm like, what'd you do? You like finger paint or something over his face? Like, no, he blackmailed him. Okay, so he's admitting to it now, even though.
敲诈教授，我想像教授那么有名有钱的人，这点钱对他来说不算啥子。何况我运气那么好，配到他们两个的全过程。那天晚上我刚进门，把娃拿出来准备换卡，我不晓得咋莎莎就比原来更早回来了。我没得办法走躲到衣柜头。我刚躲进去的时候，莎莎正好开门，就没看到我。
So that at least helps confirm that he really was there to change out like the memory card, and that she came home early, and that's why he was hiding. So she definitely had no idea he was even there in the first place. Fair enough.
我承认，我当年确实是去换卡和电池的，也是我之前偷了莎莎手机敲诈教授。我想像教授那么有名有钱的人，这点钱对他来说。
Good enough, whatever. I'm gonna not watch that. I'm gonna opt to. Yeah, because there's like, at least as far as the landlord thing is concerned, there's a big complicated 4-piece thing that there's no way in hell I would have been able to do. But let's try and reason it out. So it involves testimony number 8 of the landlord. What did he say?
那种情况，我直接出去就没得命了啊！我是听到外头没得动静了，过了好一会儿我才敢偷偷摸摸的出去。
Oh, okay, so this is when he was in the closet, like he was talking about when he was in the closet, and then he waited several minutes before he got out.
我出去就看到莎莎已经死在外
Saw the
头，
body.
那钟还睡在旁边地上，那个样子之吓人。我想报警，但我手机没电了。
Oh, yeah. Okay. He wanted, like he said, he wanted to call the police, but his cell phone was dead.
But
I think he had more than one cell phone. Like, and he specifically later told us that he didn't want to call the police right away. He wanted to let her suffer, etc., etc., etc. And then we combined that with freaking whatever happened in 16, which is what? Yeah, where he's talking about her being dead or dying. The one that we okay. Yeah, okay, so we got that. So it's like it was a terrifying thing, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, it was beautiful, it was awesome, I hate her, like she should suffer, etc., etc. And then what? Something we haven't really gotten to use, which is apparently the shoes. These are the shoes he wore when he was in the wardrobe, like hiding in the wardrobe. It was these shoes. And I would have known to use those in combination with those two. How? Like, that just seems nuts. And that's also in combination with one fourth final item, which is the picture of the victim's body. Yeah, the victim's body, which is in the report. That's this one. Why? Because, I mean, it's not like... I mean, the fact that the shoes are part of this doesn't make sense to me, because, like, we don't see any sign of, like, footprints. In fact, if anything, what's most suspicious about this to me is that, like, she's, like, bleeding all the way up here to the door. Is that okay? That's the best shot for this. Like, because this is the front door. I mean, it's not that impossible, but how would he have maybe gotten through the doorway without leaving footprints in the blood? Is it possible that she wasn't yet bleeding? But then how would that help the case? I don't know. So let's find out. Like, at this point, it's kind of like the game has to just tell me what it's doing, because I can't figure it out.
脚上穿的那双鞋是你的吗？
肯定是我呀，咋的？
昨天晚上穿的是这双吗？
是。
Oops.
把鞋脱下来，我们要去检验。
Take off your shoes.
你脚上穿的这双鞋上面发现了很多死者的指纹。你脚上
The
穿的
fingerprints, fibers, and blood of the victim on his current shoes, which gets into some of the problems I was trying to understand before I continue this. Okay, I think I see at least a little bit of where they're going with this. The fact was, the footprints in the wardrobe meant he was wearing different shoes inside the wardrobe, or yeah, it was the wardrobe, than the footprints of his outside, like the ones that were at the scene of the crime. So, well, what gives? Like,
这双鞋上面发现了很多死者的指纹、纤维、血迹，证明你曾经踢过死
yeah,
者。
which seems to be implying that, yeah, the shoes he's wearing right now has, like, fibers, etc., and maybe they're not even addressing the question I'm asking, but a totally different one. I'm just going to shut up now.
你怎么解释？
不可能！你们警方制造假证据污蔑我，我那天晚上穿的根本不是这双鞋。
那你穿的是哪双？是不是这双？
是啊，我承认我穿的是这双鞋。那又咋子？你们根本不可能在上面发现任何的血迹和指纹，更不要提啥子纤维了。我根本就没有踢过莎莎。
的确，这双鞋上面是干干净净，我们也没有发现任何的指纹、纤维或者血迹，所以你才是用钟袭击了莎莎的凶手。
你这是圈套，你有证据没？
证据我当然有。你之前说过，你在衣柜里很害怕，缓了很久才出去。出去的时候，死者已经倒在血泊之中了，对吧？
Wait. What? That went so fast. You admit that you were so scared you didn't dare to come out until a long time has passed. Yeah, out of the closet. What came before that? Why is it? You told us you didn't come out because you were so scared you didn't dare come out until a long time passed, blah, blah. But when you did, the dead was lying in the blood. Now, if you guys remember, I did state that my belief was that it had to have been like the impact of the the clock, like the order would have been like probably the clock, the strangling, and then the stabbing. It looks like they're putting the clock blame on him now. The strangling, we've got that part figured out at least.
这时候死者已经倒在血泊之中了，对吧？
是啊，事实确实这样的。
你还说过，你是打开死者家门出去的，对吧？
是啊，他家门是关起来。
然后你还说，你看见死者的时候，死者的血已经流了一地，就跟我们给你看的现场图片是一模一样的，对吧？
There you go.
你警到问我这些爪子，我说的话我都认。
I admit whatever I
你
say.
再看看这张现场图片，死者的血迹打湿了门口一大片地方。如果门是开着的话，你可以跳出去；但是门是关着的，你要出去的话，一定会开门。开门的话，脚上一定会沾上血迹。但
Yes, okay, that makes sense. If the door was open, like, okay, I apologize, I'm pausing the video, but yeah, it just makes sense. Like, if there was a big ass puddle of blood, if the door was open, yeah, you could potentially jump over it. But he even said himself the door was closed. How would you have opened the door to be able to make the jump afterwards? I mean, yeah, you could probably reach really far, but that answers one of my earlier questions.
但是你在案发现场穿的鞋是干干净净的，只有一个可能性，门口是干净的。为什么地上是干净的？因为是你用钟敲击了被害者。
你乱说，你乱说，我根本没有啥理由。
平常情况下你是没有，但是你知道已经有人袭击过被害者，而且你知道整个案发过程，所以你就趁这个机会杀害了被害者，并把罪名推给老虎。
莎莎不是我杀的，我只是拿钟铐了他。我出门的时候，他还在喊我救他。那个婆娘到那个时候，都还在喊我苗哥。我本来不想杀他的，不想伤害他的，是他逼我的呀！我拿起钟铐了他，我好害怕哦！我只有让老虎给我背罪。我把失踪的时间从9点45。
Oh, this is going to be an important value. He adjusted the time of the clock from 9:45 to the time when I received the short message. The short message supposedly being the one from the neighbor. So he actually altered the time on the clock. I bet this is going to affect the whole professor part of the thing. Especially since it looks as if we may have established that this guy did the damage caused as a result of hitting her with the clock and the boyfriend and doing the strangling part. But basically he went from 9:45 to 9:40. That's when the clock was stopped. Like that's what it was reading in all our evidence. So he altered that 5 minutes back. Oh.
是我收到短信的时间，我本来想把衣柜头脚印清理了，把血娃也拿起走，结果是你们根本就不会怀疑到我的身上。在这个时候，我听到门口有人撞到了东西，我害怕是老虎回来了，我就开门跑。
你不想解释一下那把刀的事吗？
事到如今，我该认的都认了。那把刀的的确确不是我插的，我也不晓得那把刀为啥子会在现场。你们要抓子就抓子吧，我没得啥子可以说的。
So all that is now part of that testimony. Oh. Closing report. Brief description. Chen Miao violently killed a female in the rental house at 9:40 on December 4th. The victim was Liu Sasha. Blah, blah, blah. The victim was wounded twice in her bosom by sharp tools. Bruised by strangling were observed in her neck. Her left temple was wounded by blunt tool. The investigation results showed that Tiger deliberately murdered the victim. Evidence concludes Tiger's testimony, evidence collected on the crime scene, testimonies of others, information from the victim's mobile phone, and some pictures. The facts have been fully proven. The evidence is sufficient. The evidence is sufficient, goddammit. The nature of this case is clear. The punishment is proper. The documents are standard and complete. The requirements for the procedures of criminal case have been met. It's recommended to close this case. Recommended by who? Like recommended by who? Like, who the fuck would recommend that? Like, you literally listed that the like he hit her with the fucking thing, and you've got evidence, but it said up here, the victim was wounded twice in her bosom by sharp tools, blah blah blah, and then you listed the neck thing, etc. He didn't do that yet. Like, we have not established that. And we listed what was not established. Like, it's the first fucking thing. The victim was wounded twice in her bosom by sharp tools. She was stabbed twice. So, I think I see how this game is doing it. It's like she obviously got 3 completely independent forms of trauma to the body. Now, the autopsy report specifically states the cause of death. Now, earlier we essentially had a case with a closing report, a chance to close the case and put all the blame on the boyfriend. But the boyfriend only did the strangulation portion. It looks like we've established a case that the landlord is the one that did the smashing her the fuck up with a clock or alarm clock or whatever the hell it was. But we still haven't established anything as far as what happened with the stabbing, because we have no proof that it was either of those 2 guys. And, like, I don't see how this would be a closed case yet, especially since neither of those are the reported cause of death. I mean, both of those could be deadly, but we have an autopsy report that specifically says it was cardiac arrest and she was fucking stabbed. So, like, this case is not closed.
有趣，老强，死者肚子里胎儿的 DNA 出来了。
太好了，终于可以验证我的一些设想了。
设想，说来听听。
有没有回想起一个问题？我们刚刚得知钟上的真实死亡时间应该是在9点45分之后，之前的新闻报道统一报道的是在9点40分，但是好像已经有人知道了死者死于9点45分之后的事实。
那是不好，太多复杂的案情锁住了我们侦探欧阳的。
9点45分之后。
The time of death, 10:45 instead of the 20 to 10. Yeah.
那是不好，太多复杂的案情锁住了我名侦探欧阳的大脑了。我的处理器必须清理一下。
说人话。
我知道。
看这2份证据。
So we've got the next unlocked memory, and we now have DNA report of the victim's fetus. Oh, I think I see where this is going. So now finally the last bit is going to relate to the actual pregnancy, all that stuff. And my guess is, like, it's going to turn out like the professor is the father, he impregnated her on accident, and blah 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 blah. That's where I think it's going to go. We will find out eventually.